Hi everyone, it's Lee here from Cable Crochet Lee, and we are learning how to do this 6-stitch cable headband today for our Molly crochet along that we're doing. This is number 2 in our tutorials for our headbands before we tackle the Molly cabled blanket together. So let's dive into the 6-stitch Molly headband. Hi everyone, we're going to be making the 6-stitch cabled headband, the Molly cabled headband today for our crochet along for the Molly cabled blanket. And for this tutorial, you're going to need some medium weight yarn. I'm using Lion Brand Wool Ease yarn, and then I'm using a 5mm hook, and you can use whatever crochet hook you need in order to obtain proper gauge. The gauge and the pattern, the written instructions, are listed for free on the Cable Crochet Lee blog, and you can find the link in the description of this video. So let's get started. So for this headband pattern, our cable goes across 6 stitches, and then we're going to have 4 stitches on either side of the cable for just some post stitches to create a bit of a border. So that means 6 plus 4 plus 4, we're going to need 14 stitches, and that means we are going to chain 15 in order to begin. So with your slip knot on your hook, we're going to start with 15 chains. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. So now we're going to half double crochet in each of the chains, starting in the second chain from the hook. So you can see that our yarn is coming out of the first chain. And looking at the bottom bump, you want to insert your crochet hook into the second chain in order to begin. We're going to wrap for a half double crochet. It's also called yarning over. So once you've yarned over, insert your hook into the second chain from the hook, yarn over and draw up your loop so that you have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and draw through all 3. So we're going to half double crochet in each chain all the way across so that we have 14 half double crochets. And once you reach the end, we're going to chain 1 and turn, and we'll start our second row. So I'll meet you there. So row 2 is our setup row for our cabled headband, and sometimes it's a little bit difficult to do a post stitch on the very first stitch of a row. So we are going to replace it with a placeholder, which will be just a regular half double crochet. So you're going to yarn over, insert your hook into the stitch, yarn over and draw up a loop, and yarn over and draw through all 3. Now that does take the place of the first back post double crochet, I should say. So it will kind of incorporate itself into the pattern more as the work progresses. So next we're going to add a little bit of a border between our cable stitches and the edges. So the next stitch that we're going to do is a back post double crochet. So you're going to yarn over. We're going to insert our hook from the back of our work and push this next post backwards. Once you've got your hook inserted from the back to the front and back out again, you're going to yarn over, draw your loop back up from the way you came so that you have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and draw through 2 twice. So that's our first back post half double crochet, and we need 2 more. So we're going to yarn over, reach from the back and push in through the front, push that post backwards, yarn over, draw out the loop the way you came, and then yarn over and draw through 2 twice. And then we're going to do that 1 more time. So yarn over, insert your hook from the back to the front and then to the back again, obviously. Yarn over and draw up a loop, and then yarn over and draw through 2 twice. So that's going to create our border between our cable stitches, and then the next 6 stitches are going to be designated for our 6-stitch cable. Now if you wanted to put a stitch marker here to kind of block between the cable section and the edges, that might not be a bad idea, just to keep track of where your sections are. And that's the same for when you progress in the Molly cabled blanket. You might find it easier to keep track of your stitches by breaking it up into manageable sections so that you know, if you need 6 stitches in this section, you have all 6 stitches done and they're all in the right spot. So for our 6 stitch cable, it starts off with a base of 6 front post double crochets. So that's what we're going to do next. So you're going to yarn over, insert your hook from the front to the back, yarn over and draw up a loop, and then yarn over and draw through 2 twice. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So those 6 front post double crochets will act as our 6 stitch cable. So you can kind of see how the first 4 stitches that we did get pushed back, and then these 6 stitches kind of push forward. And you're going to find that happens throughout the entire headband section here. To finish off our border here, we have these 4 stitches left. You can see that from the posts of them, there are 1, 2, 3, and 4 left. And those we are going to back post double crochet on. So yarn over, and from the back to the front, we're pushing that post backwards, yarning over and drawing up a loop, yarning over and drawing through 2 twice. So we're going to do that all the way across. And back post double crochet in the last stitch. And then we are ready to do our return row. So let's take a look at going back the other way. For our return row, we're going to chain 1, returning our work, and we are going to do a half double crochet in the first stitch. And then now to make these back post double crochets continue to look the same on the other side, we're actually going to front post double crochet on them, because the reason for that is when we front post double crochet on them on this side, they still look like back post double crochets on the other side. So we're front post double crocheting on the next 3 stitches. And when you look at them from the other side, they look the same as the back post double crochets. So now we have our 6 front post double crochets that we did, and we're looking at the backs of them, and we want to back post double crochet on those because we're doing the opposite on the other side to make them look the same from the front. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 back post double crochets. Those are our cable stitches that aren't cabled yet, but they will be. And then we're left with our 4 border stitches, and we are going to front post double crochet on those. So 1, 2, 3, and 4 finally. Now you'll notice that on the headband patterns we're using front post double crochets and back post double crochets on the borders. In the Molly blanket pattern we do switch it up and do front post half double crochets. They're both essentially the same, one's just a tiny bit shorter than the other, but for consistency, if you notice that the headbands have front post double crochets and then you go to do the Molly blanket, follow the pattern for the Molly blanket and do the half double crochets as written, okay? So now we're ready to do our next row, which is our cables. Okay, we are back on the front side of our work and we're ready to do a cable stitch. And so again, we've chained one. We're going to half double crochet in that first stitch. We're going to back post half double crochet, or back post double crochet on the next 3 stitches. So 1, 2, and 3. So you can see how those ones are pushing back and they leave a little bit of a braided ridge in the front of the work. So now you can see those 6 post stitches that are all kind of sticking out in the middle of our headband, and that's where we're going to do our cable. Now, if you can consider each of these 6 stitches in a place, right? So this is place number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now we are going to front post treble crochet on each of these stitches, but we're not going to do them in order of 1 through 6. We're actually going to do 4, 5, and 6 first, and then we're going to come back and do 1, 2, and 3 first, next. So does that make sense? We're going to do these 3 stitches first, and then we're going to come back and do these 3 stitches, and that's where the cross comes in for a cabled stitch. They crisscross over top of each other. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. We'll try and go as slowly as we can. So we are doing a front post treble crochet because we need it to stretch pretty far, right? We're going from over here all the way to the number 4 stitch. So we have to skip the first 3 stitches, and we're going to work in this one, number 4. And so you don't want to do a short stitch because it won't reach there. So we're going to wrap twice for a treble crochet. Then you're going to count for that 4th stitch, so we're skipping 1, 2, and 3, and we're putting our hook into and around number 4. So from the front to the back, we're doing a front post stitch, so you can see where my hook goes in. Once you have your hook in, you're going to yarn over and draw up a loop. So you'll have 4 loops on your hook, and you're going to do yarn over and draw under 2, 3 times. So even though we did the first stitch in the 4th spot, this is still the first stitch. So when we go back around, that's going to matter. So now we're going to do a front post treble crochet in stitch number 5. So yarn over twice, insert around stitch number 5, and complete your front post treble crochet by yarning over and drawing through 2, 3 times. Do you see how it's kind of leaning off to the side? So one more time, we're going to front post treble crochet in stitch number 6. So 1, 2, and 3 times. So now you have half of your cable complete, but we never did anything with stitches 1, 2, and 3. And so now we kind of have to go back and address those. And so all that means is we're going to do those same stitches, but now we're going to revisit 1, 2, and 3 and do our stitches on those. So do you see where they are? 1, 2, and 3, and we did 4, 5, and 6. So we're going to wrap twice for a front post treble crochet, and you're going to stretch backwards this time to insert your hook from front to back around number 1. So I'll show you that again. We wrap twice for the front post treble crochet. You're going to look for stitch number 1. So there's 1, 2, and 3 here. We're looking for number 1, and you're going to stretch your hook and put your hook around number 1 now instead. So once you have your hook around number 1, you're going to yarn over and draw up your loops so that you have 4 on your hook. Yarn over and draw through 2, 3 times. So number 1 has been completed. Now we have to do 2 and 3. So we're going to wrap twice for a front post treble crochet. Look for number 2, it's right here after number 1. So you can still see it, It's just kind of getting covered now with our cable. So in and out of number 2, yarn over and drop your loop, yarn over and draw under 2, 3 times. And then the last one is number 3. So we have 1, 2, 3 is right here, 4, 5, 6. So we are looking for number 3. You're going to yarn over twice and insert your hook around number 3, yarn over and draw up a loop, yarn over and draw under 2 twice, or sorry, 3 times. So do you see how it kind of all crisscrossed in front of each other? Now we're going to continue on to our border just like nothing happened. So you're going to wrap for your back post, and in the first back post stitch you're going to come all the way back here and back post double crochet in the last 4 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. So you've successfully crisscrossed those stitches in the middle, and when we do further stitches onto those stitches, they will kind of straighten out a little bit. Not straighten out, but become more apparent that it's a cable. So you've completed the crisscross part. Now let's see what happens when we go back over top of them. So to continue on, we're going to chain 1, turn our work. We're going to half double crochet on the first stitch, front post double crochet on the next 3 stitches for our border here. So 1, 2, and 3. So our border is complete. Now we have to back post double crochet on these cable stitches that we all twisted, right? They're all twisted up. So it kind of looks like a big jumble from the back, and when you have to do stitches on these, it looks a little bit funky and it's a little hard to navigate where you're supposed to go. What I like to do is I like to kind of insert my finger between the first 3 and the last 3 and kind of even them out a little bit, just like that. If you stretch it out, then you can kind of see this is number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So our first stitch here, going by the tops of the stitches, so you're looking at the sideways V's on the top. If you tilt it forward towards yourself, you can see here there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And that's what you're aiming for. So try to orientate yourself by kind of stretching them out a little bit to see where they are, and going by the tops of the stitches to see which one is first. So we're going to wrap for a back post double crochet. And this is the first stitch I can see by the top of the V. So I'm going to back post double crochet on that stitch first. Then the next one. Then looking for that next V, it's going to be this one. So we did the first 3, and then it's the last 3. So this is the next one. Then this one. And the last one. So we've gone across the backs of those cables that we did in the last row. And now we're going to front post double crochet in the last 4 stitches for our border. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. So now we can chain 1 and turn and take a look at the next row. So we're chaining 1 and we're turning, and you can see how that cable is really starting to pop out now. So for the next row, we are going to half double crochet in the first stitch, back post double crochet in the next 3. So 1, 2, and 3. And now we're back to just some front post double crochets. So we're going to do 6 front post double crochets across our cable. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then back post on the next 4. So 1, 2, 3, and lastly number 4. Whoops, that one fell out. So if we take a look at our cable now, you can really see where that twist pops out because we've gone over the edges a few times. So do you see where those stitches crisscrossed? That's what's going to happen every other row. So you're going to do a row of just front post double crochets and then a twist row, front post double crochets and a twist row, and the edges always remain the same. So I'm going to continue doing my headband, and I will meet you back for when we put the final row and the joining together. So once your headband is long enough, we're going to put our border on the sides here, and we're actually going to practice the border that's going to be on the Molly cabled blanket on this headband in particular, because this is the smallest space for the width of the entire 3 sections. So the diamond stitch was a little bit wider, and the 18 stitch cable is obviously going to be wider as well. So this is the perfect size in order to try that border out and make sure that you guys have that, so that when you get to the border on the Molly cabled blanket, you will be good to go. So let's take a look at the border. We are going to first line our edge with a row of single crochets. So you're going to basically do a single crochet in every row end all the way down. So you're going to look for each of the ends of the row, and you can kind of pull your stitches a little bit to see where those row ends are, and just loosely find those row ends and pop a single crochet in each of them all the way down. So I'm going to continue doing mine all the way down, and then I will show you how to do the border, which is a ribbed edging that you'll find on the Molly cabled blanket. So once you've done your row of single crochets, we don't want to do the end of our headband because the ends are basically going to get sewn together, right? So we don't want the border on the edges. We just want them on the sides. So once you've done your row of single crochets kind of evenly on all of these row ends, we are ready to add the ribbed border to the edging here. So what we're going to do is we are going to be doing a 4-stitch ribbed border, and so we need to chain 5 in order to begin. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And once you have your 5 chains, we're going to single crochet in the second chain from the hook, and then in each chain down. So we're going to be doing a single crochet 1, 2, 3, and 4. So in the first one, and again, this is going to be the same border that is on the edge of the Molly cabled blanket. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. So when we're doing our border, it doesn't really matter if you're looking at the right side or the wrong side when doing this kind of border because it's double-sided. So we are going to be ending up looking at the wrong side for the most part of this, and it will look the same on either side. So again, it doesn't really matter. So looking at the wrong side, we have done our first set of single crochets in the first stitch. So working on the single crochets that we just did along the edging, we're going to slip stitch in the next 2 stitches. So you can kind of see that our chain came out of the first stitch, and in the next 2 stitches we need to kind of secure it on. So we're going to insert and slip, and same in the next stitch, insert and slip. And now we're ready to continue working our border. So you're going to chain 1 for a new row. You can turn your work, and we are going to do those 4 single crochets on the border here, ignoring those 2 slip stitches that we already did to secure it onto the headband. Those are just to secure, they're not really stitches that we're working into. So if you're confused about where to begin working our first single crochet, you can count backwards. So you can start at the top, that's 1, that sideways V. The next one is 2, the next one is 3, and this is 4. So we want to work in this 4th one here, or the first one coming in from the other side, and we're working in the back loops only. So if you can see that again, we have these single crochets here. This is number 1, 2, 3, and 4, or going the other way, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we're skipping those 2 slip stitches that secured it to the headband, and we're going to continue working our border. Working in the back loop only, which means you only put your hook into the back loop of that sideways V, and you leave the front loop alone. You're going to single crochet. So 1, again, you're looking for that back loop only. So looking at this sideways V of the next stitch, you're just taking the back loop. 2, 3, and 4. And now we're ready to turn, chain 1 and turn, and do it again. So you can turn your work, and we're looking at the back side of the headband again, and we're going to do 4 single crochets in the back loop only, starting at the top again. So in the back loop only, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Ignoring those 2 slip stitches from before, and you can see where our work is coming out of. It's this loop here. So if you pull it really high, you can see that these 3 stitches are all occupied, right? And this stitch right here is empty, and same with the next. So that's where you're going to want to slip stitch twice. So a good rule of thumb is if you pull it and these 3 are stretching and this one's not stretching at all, that's your next stitch. So we're going to slip stitch twice, 1 in the next stitch and 1 in the stitch after, to secure our edge. You're going to chain 1, and we're going to turn our work and do the next row of our border. So skipping those slip stitches, looking for those 4 single crochets. Starting with this one, we're working in the back loop only. So 1, 2, sorry, my loop kind of died there, 3, and 4. Chain 1, we're going to turn, and then we're going to work in the next 4 single crochets, back loop only, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Ignore those 2 slip stitches that we did. Pull your work to see which one's pulling up. It's this one. This one's not pulling, which means these are the next 2 stitches. So slip stitch to secure your border on in the next 2 stitches. Chain 1, and we're going to flip it and do the next row. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Chain 1 and turn. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Look for those next 2 loops. So it's this one and this one. So slip stitch and slip stitch, chain 1 and turn. So I'm going to keep going with my border here, and once you get to the end of your headband side, you're going to attach to the other side and repeat the exact same thing, and then we'll look at how to join our headband ends together. So once you have your border on your headband, we're going to work with it inside out. So you want the outside, or sorry, the wrong side facing you and the inside facing inside, because we're going to twist our headband and sew it into one of the cable twist headbands. So what's going to happen is you're going to match both of your ends by folding them each in half, like so. And again, we have the outside tucked in and we have the wrong side facing. So we want our seam to be on the inside basically. So once you have these little pinches here, you're going to tuck one inside the other, just in half like so, so that it kind of makes a little folded sandwich. Just like that. So they kind of bit each other. Now what's going to happen now is you are going to sew through all of this thickness all at the same time to seal this, and then when you flip it inside out you'll have a twisted headband. So I'm going to go ahead and sew mine and then I'll show you. Thank you so much for joining me for this tutorial for the 6-stitch Molly cabled headband. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you enjoy making a Molly headband. And if you wanted to see the other tutorial for the diamond stitch headband, you can check out my YouTube channel. Be sure to like this video to help with supporting it, and we'll see you again for the next headband tutorial. Thanks!